What's going on, wonderful, beautiful, great people, gods and goddesses out there? Kimu SDC with you here, and you know we got to start it off with a PLH, peace, love, and happiness all day, every day. And today we got something wonderful, great to talk about, wonderfully great to talk about, and that is the difference between the ego and the self. Now, quick short story really. When we go into Kemetic stories or ancient Egyptian stories and we talk about Asar, Aset, Heru, and Set, we go into a deeper understanding of the purpose of the ego and the true self. And in that story, Heru is the incarnate of Asar, who is the king of Egypt. And Aset is Heru's mother. And Set is Asar's brother. But we see this all the time. In a lot of stories, we see a king. The king has a son. The king also has a brother, and the brother feels that they should be next in line for the territory. But of course it goes to the son. So what happens? The brother always wants to kill the son. And we see that in the Lion King. We see that in Greek mythology, Roman mythology, many types of mythologies. And it's all the story always carries over the same. It's of course different from culture to culture, but in this story it basically shows that Heru and Set are clashing for years and years and years, and along the way in one of the battles, Heru actually loses his eyesight, and that's symbolism for him losing sight of not the physical aspect, but in a more spiritual aspect where he can't see justice. He can't see truth anymore. And then later along in the story, he has to basically go on an ordeal and basically find truth again. He has to find truth. He has to find justice through knowledge. And in the end, Heru gets the land, of course. That's with every story. And Set is, of course, he's not outcasted. He's to work as a servant to Heru. And basically that story is to say that with Set being our lower self, and well, actually Set is representing the lower Egypt, and Heru is representing upper Egypt. And that's basically to say that Set is a representation of our lower self, our ego, while Heru is the representation of our higher self, which is our true self, our true nature, our true colors. And when we go into that, we got to start asking, well, what is the ego? How do I know that my ego is running my life? How do I know that this isn't my true nature? Well, let's see how you're operating. How are you operating on an everyday basis? Because the ego feeds on fear, control, narcissism, arrogance, insecurities, anxiety, indulgences. And when you think about the chakras, those are all blockers of each individual chakra. Those first three chakras, the root chakra, the solar plexus chakra, and the sacral chakra. And I also explain that in my chakra series of my videos. And that's what our lower self feeds off of. Are we feeding on fear on an everyday basis? We may not think so, but we probably are. With those fears, are we feeding on insecurity? Are we not taking those chances because we fear that at the end of the day, I may not be able to live. I may not be, I like the current situation that I'm in because it's comfortable. But is this comfort because I'm insecure to take the next step, a better step that will help me raise my consciousness? Am I in this situation because it gives me a certain amount of control? It feeds my ego, my desire for control. Or are we in situations where we indulge in certain activities? Food, sex, drugs, alcohol. Are we indulging in those activities for whatever reasons? Are we connecting with these material things, these indulgences, allowing them to define who we are? Are we allowing our wants to define who we really are? Are we in situations of control where if I lose that control or that sense of control, do I react negatively? Do I become anxious? Maybe you get a little angry, maybe you just back off and you cower away and get in a little fetal position. Whatever your reaction is. But then we raise into the higher self, who we really are, our true nature. And I know that when I began to dive deeper into my consciousness, begin to elevate my frequency, and understand the influence that what I consume and how I react is mostly governed by my subconscious, because our subconscious governs 90% of everything that we do. What am I feeding myself? Am I feeding myself negative images every day? Am I feeding myself junk every day? Things that I know I'm not supposed to be eating? Because in this day and age, we're actually becoming more open and understanding that the things that we eat, we shouldn't be eating. 7-Day Vegan Challenge, by the way, we got to definitely promote that. As I always say, health is wealth, and food should always be medicine. So, are we elevating our frequency by consuming positive images, positive energy? Those images create some type of energy. So, what are we feeding ourselves on an everyday basis? Are we listening to music that's going to help elevate our consciousness? Listen to music that's on 432 hertz. That's the frequency that we operate on. That all disease and illnesses operate on a certain frequency. That's the reason why we catch those diseases, because we have lowered our frequency. I know that when I began to heighten my frequency, a cold, bye-bye. I never had the flu. But all those other illnesses that I caught earlier on in my journey, bye-bye. It's not just because of the way that I eat. It's because I also have heightened my frequency. How did I do that? How did you do that, Chemo? Love frequency, baby. Love frequency. I know that when I began to get onto the love frequency, a lot of things changed. I began to do a lot of selfless service. I began to express my true nature. I began to diving into who Haru is. Expressing myself. Stop putting on these different personas for different groups of people, or just different people in particular. The same way I am with my parents is the same way I'm going to be with a stranger. It may seem like I'm being a little forward, but I'm not being forward. I'm being my true self. If I sense that you're on a positive frequency, that you're delivering, that you have positive energy in your aura, I'm going to give you positive energy also. And when positive energy meets positive energy, that's just good science right there. Construction, you build up. But we also got to know when to stay away from the destructive energy, so that way we can stay on a positive wavelength. Because as we already know, energy sent out into the universe is the same energy we get back. When you send out positive energy, you get positive energy. When you send out negative energy, you get negative energy. That's why I'm encouraging you to sublime your ego. Allow your ego to work for you rather than your true nature working for your ego. Because when that happens, we begin to elevate ourselves. Then we start getting into the higher chakras. We begin to get into the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, and the crown chakra. When we get to that point, we got an insurmountable amount of energy. I know for me, I got an insurmountable amount of energy. I may get exhausted physically, but deep down inside, because of the fact that I made that decision to tap into my deeper consciousness, to tap deeper into who I really am, and get on that positive frequency, continue to send out those positive vibes, that positive energy, I still feel like I have a lot of energy even though my body is exhausted. And I'm going to continue to feed the universe that positive energy because I see the results. People who have seen me transition from my lower self into my higher self, they've become happy for me because they see how much I've grown. They see me in a light that they've never seen before. They see me happy. They know that before this journey, I was unhappy. I was truly unhappy. Why? Because I was working for my ego. When I began to sublime my ego and get into my authentic nature, start opening my third eye and actually listening to my intuition, start loving everybody the same and loving everything the same, whether it be people, animals, insects, trees, any type of vegetation, the earth. It all began to heighten my frequency because I realized that we're all one. We're all connected. And just knowing that, it really gives you that opportunity, that knowledge to treat everything the way that you would treat yourself. As they say, the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. It just doesn't pertain to others. It pertains to everything. Treat the world the way that you want to be treated. If you want to be treated like trash, well then go ahead and give other people trash. Give the earth trash. Whatever you see fit. But I definitely want to promote you getting on those higher frequencies. Love everything. Love everyone. Actually begin with loving yourself, because I realize that is the hardest thing for people to do these days, is to actually love themselves, because we're not taught how to love, and we're definitely not taught how to love ourselves. And when we begin to love ourselves, we begin to love everything external to ourselves the same amount. Because you can't give something that you don't have. You can't give $1 that you don't have. You can't give love that you don't have. The love that you're going to give somebody is the same love that you give to yourself. The people that you surround yourself with are an image of who you really are. So in order for us to elevate, we have to not only just lift ourselves, but surround ourselves with people who are willing to pull us up with them. Instead of being crabs who just pull people down every time they see somebody rising up, let's bring people up with us, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to get you to elevate, get on those higher frequencies, get on that love frequency, so that way we can always be out here, woo, throwing these parties, being our true selves, not putting on these different masks and allowing our ego to be the forefront, so that way mom and dad could see this side of us, and then co-workers could see this side of us, or this group of friends could see this side of us. We gotta allow ourselves to be the same person in every single situation. That's our authentic nature. Why should we hide who we really are? Because we're all beautiful. We're all great. We all come from the same place. The only difference is what we have to give, what we bring to the table. What cards do we bring to the table? When we begin to tap into and find out what cards we actually do bring to the table, and stop blaming our genetics or blaming these external factors on the reason why we behave in a certain way. By the way, genetics do not govern how you behave. It governs your physical traits. So when we stop blaming those external factors for the reason why we're not diving deep, why we're not expanding our consciousness, why we're not becoming more spiritual beings, more spiritful beings, elevating our consciousness, we rise up. We will raise up all the time, and we will raise the people around us. And I've seen that. When I began to raise, I began to attract people who are raising themselves up. I began to attract people who are going to raise me up. I get people who are pushing me every day to be better and do better. Because when you be great, you do great things. And that's what I want to promote to you all day, every day. So, once again, let's elevate, sublime that ego, have it work for us. That way we can always throw a party, a PLH party. And I definitely got to say, what is PLH? Peace, love, and happiness with you all day, every day. Woo! Kimu SDC with you all day, every day. Hopefully. Over and out. Peace. Elevate yourself and get on that higher frequency.